If I win, it's because deep down you know you're about to make the biggest mistake of your life.
You must know that for basketball junkies, that movie has a special place in our heart.
I never picked up a basketball after in basketball.
I always wonder whether you guys ever have flashback moments where all of a sudden you're back in Nip Tuck.
A high-class prostitute who harvests people's organs.
That is not how I introduce you.
They used to call him One Night Stand.
Player School with Sanaa Lathan.
That's so good. I can see you're a workout person with those muscles.
I still like to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey family, bienvenidos. It's Carlos Watson. Got a really good show for you today. In fact, good show might be an understatement. None other than Sanaa Lathan, the acclaimed actress. She's stopping by. Really excited about that. Also on the way, we're going to introduce you to Jonathan J.Q. Quarles. He's the founder and CEO of Quartz Water Source and a member of Hennessy's Never Stop, Never Settle Society. You are absolutely going to love his story as well. All right, but first up, as promised, Sanaa Lathan is in the house. Now, of course, you know her from her Tony-nominated work on Broadway. She, of course, does great voiceover work on Family Guy and The Cleveland Show. And, of course, so many iconic movies. I'm talking Love and Basketball, Brown Sugar, even The Best Man. So many good things. Her latest projects include the Netflix series Hit and Run and, of course, season 3 of HBO's Succession. For more, the one and only Sanaa Lathan.
The Carlos Watson Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance.
Sanaa?
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Where in this wonderful world are you?
I'm in Hollywood Hills. Where are you?
I'm in the Bay Area.
Oh, I love the Bay Area. I went to UC Berkeley.
Did you enjoy undergrad?
I loved undergrad.
Really?
It was so great. As a child, I just always wanted to be a grown-up. I was a very kind of serious, little girl who always loved to sit with the grown-ups and listen to their conversations. And so when it was time for me to be on my own, I just loved it. You know, I had a bunch of boyfriends.
You know what? I bet you they're unhappy now.
There was some college drama, you know.
Now, were you the dramatic one or were they the dramatic one?
They were.
Okay, you sure? Okay.
Definitely, I'm sure.
Now, where did you grow up?
In New York and LA. I went to Beverly Hills High School for 2 years. And then I went to New York to a public school in East Harlem for 2 years. That's where I graduated from. It was a rude awakening.
Yeah.
For me, and also just so necessary in terms of raising my consciousness about, the inequality of, public education in our country. Yeah. So high school was not fun for me, and on either side. And that's part of the reason I really buckled down and worked on my grades. And that's how I got into Berkeley, UC Berkeley.
And were you always destined to become an actor?
I probably would not have said I would be acting. I had been around it my whole life. I was like a toddler behind the scenes on Broadway when my mother was in the chorus, and I was always performing. And around 14, when I was in New York, I joined a after-school program. It was like a teen theater group. And we would, do plays like for Color Girls. And it was a great time for me to kind of find my voice. And so it was something that I was doing as a hobby, had no intentions of following it. When I got to Berkeley, I was in the Black Theater Workshop, and then a minority recruiter came from Yale School of Drama. And I said to myself, well, if I could get into Yale School of Drama, maybe that, So in a weird way, me getting in helped make that decision for me. And the great thing about Yale is that by the end of 3 years, you've done close to 30 plays.
And who else is that? Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett, Courtney Vance, her husband, John Turturro, Meryl Streep.
Yale is also, that's not Frances McDormand, is it?
Yes. She's one of my favorite actresses.
Okay.
There's a lot of great people that came out of there. It's a great education.
So now I'm sure that people pick your brain all the time about dreaming fearlessly. What have you learned about dreaming fearlessly? Was there a long ramp up before you started getting some of those opportunities?
For me, it was interesting. It was a really slow build, but it was consistent. So I went to New York and I did a lot of theater. but I was going up for commercials and guest stars, and I would get close on them, but not really book anything. I really wanted to do theater because it's really all about the theater when you go to drama school. And that's really kind of my first love in terms of the actual experience of it. And my dad was like, you know what? Hollywood is for the young. Get out here now. You know, it was before self-tapes and all of that stuff. You had to be in the room. He's like, get out here and get in the room. And as soon as I got to LA, I just started booking just little things. Like, you know, my first thing was the date of LL Cool J on In the House. And I was so excited about it.
You ladies look so fine, time will stand still just to check you out.
You look so fine, I'm gonna forget you used that line when we met.
I mean, I was excited. But it's that feeling of like, you know, once you start booking.
Right, yeah.
It was like a one scene part, but I was like, I'm gonna make it, you know? And then there were, you know, 1,000 things that I was close on and just would not get and would be on the floor. And then I got like The Wood and I got Blade and then The Best Man and then Love and Basketball. It just kind of was like a slow build. There was never really an overnight kind of feeling.
Probably like a lot of people, I really love Love and Basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I'll play you.
What?
One game, one-on-one.
For what?
Your heart.
The story wasn't a perfectly polished, everything works out in the end kind of thing.
Right.
I kind of like it when things have a little bit of a jagged edge to it, and it felt like that story did.
I love that.
Did you enjoy it?
The actual experience of making that, it was not fun.
Okay.
Only because it was the basketball. I wanted to get it right. And it's hard to pick up a basketball. And even if you're practicing for hours every day for like 5 months, which I was, you can't be a basketball player. These basketball players have been, you know, playing with basketball since they were, you know, walking, just toddlers. Right. I just wanted to get it right. And I didn't know if I got it right until a year later. And we had a premiere at Sundance and we got like a 4-minute standing ovation, which was nice. But then that's the one thing about film is that then you're outside of the experience, right? Because it's over. As opposed to like a play where every night you're actually experiencing the audience, every night you're experiencing the journey. With film, it's like you shoot it and then by the time people are experiencing it, you have nothing to do with it anymore.
Oh, interesting. You've moved on. Do you watch any of your work?
I'm a Virgo and I'm super critical of myself.
Right.
Like it's painful. And I will watch it once, usually in the beginning, just so I can know what I did and what it is and also talk about it and promote it. And then that's it. I mean, if it's on TV, it's like, turn it off or go to the next channel. It's not fun for me at all. It's actually torturous. I mean, do you like watching yourself? Yes. I can tell by the way you paused.
You know, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I probably don't have as strong a reaction. I think early on, right. I became very comfortable with the idea that I'm not perfect. I'm very okay with the idea that we all are works in progress.
That's so good.
Do you like practicing to act, meaning the rehearsals?
I like it all. There's people who have photographic memories or, you know, learn lines and absorb them easily. I'm not. I have to just drill it over and over and over again. And usually I get somebody to do it with me. I do read the script several times to try to kind of keep like letting my imagination work and try to get into the perspective of the character. Things will just come to you the more you read it.
I always wonder whether you guys ever have flashback moments where all of a sudden you're back in Nip Tuck or you're back in The Best Man. You know what I mean?
A high-class prostitute who harvests people's organs.
Get out.
That is not how I introduce you, but yes.
I was like, yeah, what a juicy role. She's a high-class prostitute doctor who harvests people's organs.
Okay, all right, so that was not on your list of favorite roles. Okay.
No, I love that. I mean, that's just so fun. Ryan Murphy's mind is just, you know, something else.
Be fearless! We can do it! I believe in you! We can do it faster!
Our home is the training ground for her dreams policy. Insure carefully. Dream fearlessly.
When are we coming back.
I can't go home yet.
Something tells me you should. For everybody's sake.
You filmed in Israel for Hit and Run,
I
is that
didn't
right?
get to go to Israel.
Oh, you didn't?
My part was all in New York City in the fall. And that was part of the reason why I took the job. I was like, yeah, it's kind of a treat to work in New York City because a lot of times they'll shoot like in Canada for New York or on a stage. I got a great kind of loft type apartment in Tribeca. It was really fun.
So now what did you do in New York for fun?
I had like a 5-month-old puppy and I brought her with me. So I was like training her a lot. And I have great friends and family and I took lots of walks by the water.
This is your weather, huh? Because you have English Bulldog in you and Frenchie and Pitbull. You a bad bitch.
And just enjoyed playing that character and being on set. We had some great locations all around the city. There was one day we shut down 42nd Street. I was like, damn, It was pre-pandemic, so life was, great.
What did you do during the pandemic?
I was in LA in my house and actually shot a short.
Okay.
Maven Pictures, they did Paris, Je t'aime, and New York, I Love You, which are like, those vignettes.
Yes, I like those.
And so they came up with an idea to go out to a bunch of actors to shoot their own shorts in their homes, and then to put it together as a movie called Within. I came up with a story, an OCD panic disorder Zoom therapist who also has panic disorder herself, who is in the middle of her pandemic, and Postmates drops off a dog with a note saying, please take care of my dog because I can't afford it now because of the pandemic. Anyway, the dog winds up being her therapist. It's my dog playing. I put my dog to work. It's a very cute, quirky short. My dad is a director, and I always said, I'm going to be a director like my dad when I grow up. And, then obviously acting took me on another road. And then in the recent years, I've been on sets just knowing that it's time for me to kind of make that transition. And so this was a great opportunity for me to direct.
Does it suit you?
I think so.
Okay.
All my friends were like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. You're so bossy.
Is that right? Are you bossy?
I'm bossy in a loving way.
You do or don't have siblings?
I have 3 sisters and a brother. I'm my mother's only child. My brother is my age with a different mother. My dad was, very handsome. And, doing his thing back in the 70s.
Do you know what, Sanaa? They said to LBJ's wife back in the day, Lady Bird, LBJ was very active, and she said, well, darling, he's a people person, and half the people in the world are women. Mm-hmm. I've never heard anyone say handsome.
He's going to be so mad at me, but, his name is Stan Lathan, and they used to call him One Night Stan. Yo, what's up, One Night?
He was a legend.
I believe that there's 2 kinds of players in the world, like men who actually don't like women who are players, and men who love women who are players. And my father was of the latter. He loves women. And so my whole childhood, I had kindergarten teachers coming up to me, asking about my dad. When I was 5 years old, totally inappropriate. And I'm just like, oh, your dad's so handsome. I'm like, ew,
Yeah.
My whole life.
Wow. Player school with Sanaa Lathan. I love that.
Yeah, but he's been happily married for many, many years. And, he retired his player card.
Did that make you romantic or no?
Oh, I'm such a romantic. I think that's probably why all those romantic movies, earlier in my career came to me. I don't know.
Well, I don't think you understood the question, so I'm gonna ask you again. Sid, when did you fall in love with hip-hop?
Dre, I've been in love with you from the first day I saw you.
What about writing? Is that something you've thought about or something that you're doing?
I used to write. When I was younger, I did a lot of poetry and I just kind of let it go. I do journal a lot, but you never know what the future holds.
How do you write? How do you journal?
I write handwritten. I was doing a journal kind of on the computer for a while, but then I heard that when you actually write on pen to paper, it activates a different part of your brain. Like it's proven to do that. So I started doing it that way. How did you get into this? How did you find yourself interviewing people?
Well, I love that you're interviewing me. I like that.
No, I'm really interested. I want to know.
I think probably two ways. One is a little bit like you, where my mom and dad, I think, inspired it. They just were good storytellers. And they always had really interesting stories to tell, and they always told them with excitement. I grew up in Miami, which is a very international city, and so I probably feel like I heard lots of good stories. And then a few years ago, I started doing some TV and went from being on one side of the interviews to being on the other side and wanting to hear what other people had to say. I remember I turned on the TV one day and someone had Spike Lee on. This was in the 90s. And then they had the CEO of, I think, of GE. And just the idea that someone was spending a long time with Spike like that and then was going to the CEO, and that he treated it as, well, of course I would talk to more than one kind of person, really appealed to me.
So much of, interviews and it's all about sound bites and telling a funny story and not getting deep, just skimming the surface. And so this is refreshing. I'm one of those people who loves to sit around and do this with my friends, you know what I mean? And talk,
Oh, nice.
There's not many, interviewers that are like you these days. So, thank you for doing what you do.
Well, thank you for saying that. I feel like when you hear people talk about their paths, or you hear people talk about their future, or you hear people talk about the things that give them pause, you can, even if it's not always explicit, you can always learn something, which I always hope is true.
Definitely.
So now, once the world does open up, and I don't know if it will as soon as you and I want it to, but what would you love to do?
I'd like to keep my mask. I love doing things by myself. I love anonymity. I used to, back in the day, used to go to dinner by myself and go to the movies by myself. I'm truly kind of an introvert, even though I'm a public person. So I just love having the mask on and just being like around people and nobody knowing who I am.
You cook at all or no?
I'm a great cook. I'm a foodie in that I love food. Like food is just, gives me the most joy.
If I were lucky enough, what would we eat?
I'm a good, healthy kind of comfort food person. I could make a great baked chicken or, white bean turkey chili.
Now, are you an exercise person? I heard you say walk. Are you a run? Or you still play basketball at all? Or
I never picked up a basketball after basketball. Because I like to eat, I have to work out, and I go through phases. I was a yogi for a couple of years, and then I, did weights and then Pilates. Now I'm kind of just doing things online, making yourself. Yeah, I can see you're a workout person with those muscles.
I like to ride the bike too. I still like to play basketball. That is so funny that you don't like basketball, even though you must know that for basketball junkies, that movie has a special place in our heart. Do you know that?
I mean, I know that people love the movie. I love that people love the movie. I mean, I've dated a couple basketball players, and when I dated them, I would watch it. But other than that, I think the year of just extreme anxiety around basketball just kind of became like a sense memory for me. I don't know.
Do you mind if I wrap up with a little rapid fire?
Oh, no, I'm scared. Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
The first thing that comes to mind right now is Cinema Paradiso.
If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would you love to have dinner with?
James Baldwin.
What was one of your favorite celebrity moments of all time?
I met Meryl Streep when I did Shakespeare in the Park.
Most interesting thing you've learned about love?
That you have to love yourself first in order to get good love.
Sanaa, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was great.
I thought that this one was really unique. I know we talked that the interviews are like conversations, but I really felt like this one was really back and forth. She mentioned that this is the type of conversations that she would have with her friends, and it seemed like you already broke into that real quick. And that's why I was able to have that easy back and forth.
I've heard actors talk about they don't like doing the junkets. It's a necessary evil for them. And I think a lot of them come on our show here, and it's a breath of fresh air. And I think you're very wise to sort of lean into that. And this was like sort of the highest ideal of that sort of style.
So did you come to this as a Sanaa Lathan fan?
Of course.
Had you seen her have a conversation before?
Not like that. She's very aware of who she has been defined as in the past. And I think she's stepping into her truth of what she can give people. And she wants to break out as a director and start showing people what's on her mind.
The imperfection in the art discussion struck a chord with me. As an observer of pop culture over several decades now, I've noticed that what's popular kind of pendulum swings from like a Michael Jackson or Madonna, where it's highly produced. Nothing wrong with that, that's great, to something will come out of nowhere like punk or reggae or rock and roll in the first place. Rap, when it first came out, it was raw. And the kids always go there because it's real. So I think that's kind of what we're doing with the show. It's not inside Hollywood.
Hey, I really hope you enjoyed Sanaa Lathan. Have loved her as an actress for years. Enjoyed getting to know her a little bit as a person. Lots of interesting things there, including her high school years, both in New York and LA. And of course, now her move into directing. Look forward to following that and a whole lot more. Hey, now we're going to shift gears, introduce you to a member of Hennessy's Never Stop, Never Settle Society, which of course recognizes the strivers and dreamers who are helping change our world and make it richer and more diverse. Today, it's all about Jonathan J.Q. Quarles, the founder and CEO of Quartz Water Source, a for-profit organization that's providing affordable access to clean water through different forms of technology in his hometown of Flint, Michigan, and beyond. For more, here's my time with JQ. Hey, man.
Hey, Carlos.
Good to meet you.
Same here, same here.
So, JQ, what made you apply to the Never Stop, Never Settle Society?
So we actually applied for the Hennessy Unfinished Business Grant through 100 Black Men of America. We didn't win it. So we were part of the pipeline. We then got the notice about Never Stop, Never Settle Society. We applied for it and fortunate enough to receive it. And it's amazing. It's perfect timing because as we're rolling out this water crisis prevention product, this is the time where the funds that we're receiving is going to be deployed.
As you grew up, did you have visions of entrepreneurialism or what path were you set on if I had met you at 16, 17, 18?
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. At the age of 8, I started my first business. So I had a paper route. You remember when it used to be paper boys?
Yeah, I do. I was one. I think they relieved me of duty after like a week. But yeah, I was one for about a week. So.
Yeah, as a young person, my dad used to tell me this. My dad was like, you're not going to work for anyone. And more importantly, I want you to be your own boss. I had a printing company. I had a paper route. I had a t-shirt business. I used to go to Sam's Club and get candy. And between hours when we couldn't buy out of the candy machine, I would always supply. People come to my locker and we'll sell candy. But I always look for supply and demand. And to me, I look at entrepreneurship as just merely problem solvers. And so you figure out what the problem is, you figure out a business solution, you model it, you build a strong team, and then, you figure out how you make money from it. So.
If I printed a whole bunch of money for you right now and said, I'm prepared to invest as much as you need, what business would you start?
I would say Quartz Water Source, which is the company that I currently have now. If you have money that you're printing and you're giving away, we have some amazing things that we're doing with Quartz Water Source that is revolutionary. So Quartz Water Source was actually founded and inspired by Flint water, the Flint water crisis. I saw so many family members and friends hurt and to this day dead or won't ever be the same. Their kids are now having learning disabilities. And so with Quartz Water Source, I wanted to do something about it that was sustainable, not just to put in a Band-Aid. It was not enough for me to just donate water bottles. But for me, like having the opportunity to go back home and to really make a huge contribution was something that I always wanted to do when I graduated from high school there. And so Quartz started off as a hub for water solutions. And so we're actually introducing a product which we're really, really excited about. It's a water crisis prevention product where it serves similar to like a water insurance policy. Because what we realized was that during the pandemic, there were people that actually could not afford to pay for water. This technology that we have, which we call it atmospheric water generators or very sophisticated filtration systems. And essentially, it just makes water out of air. It can be powered by the sun in the most simplest form. But getting this into communities that are in need of water was something that is our mission. But then we were finding that communities like Flint, like Newark, New Jersey, and like places throughout South Carolina could not afford these machines. So we developed this product line where there's no other product line that's happening like this, where it serves as a small and affordable recurring payments that you can stretch out. So in the event that you actually have a water issue, whether it's through natural disaster, hurricanes and things like that, you then can tap into that, and based upon a tier system, you then can actually take that and you can draw on it like you would in insurance, and you get this water technology that doesn't need any infrastructure.
Where else would you love to see this technology deployed?
Our first phase is really tackling those communities in America that have currently or is currently having water issues. Second phase is tapping into those communities that annually get hurricanes or different kind of natural disasters, like in the Gulf Coast, Texas, Florida, those areas. The third phase, we ultimately want to be the private market solution for all public sector water issues.
JQ, thinking so many good thoughts, and I hope you'll allow me to join a lot of other people and say I'm proud of you and wishing you well. Wishing you well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Same. Okay, be safe. I hope I meet you in person one of these days.
Thank you.
Hey, that was JQ and Quartz Water Source. Big thanks to him. And of course, everyone at Hennessy and the Never Stop, Never Settle Society. They're doing really good work. Love what they're doing. All right, that's going to be it for us today. Hope you enjoyed the Carlos Watson Show. Don't forget, we've got a wonderful new episode every weekday. Come and see us again. Having a good time. See you soon.